Hello everyone and welcome to the Carcode YouTube channel. If you're new here, my name's Sam. Today I'm honoured to be checking out the Kia EV4. Firstly, a huge thanks to Kia UK for having me along at the launch event of this car. It's been an exciting day to test out this car and the wide range of vehicles. Today though, I've been testing out the standard Air model, but with the long range battery. There is two different battery options available on the Air, the 58.3 kilowatt hour battery and the 81.4 kilowatt hour battery. If you've heard about the EV3, these specs may sound very similar, and it is based on the same platform as that car and shares lots of the same specs and features, although it actually gets a longer range even though it's a slightly bigger car, thanks to being more aerodynamic and lower to the ground. It's about 4 centimeters lower, so it also aims to be a more engaging drive. More on that later though. Let's start off with the exterior design of the EV4, because it's safe to say it's been a little bit controversial. So starting off with the front of the EV4, you've got very vertical headlights, as you see from a lot of Kias now. Aquatic vibes. It's very slippery and streamlined. That's because it's got a drag coefficient of 0.23 on the fastback. The fastback version is actually the most aerodynamic Kia ever made, and you can tell that as well on the range figures of this car, which we'll get onto in a little bit. You've got LEDs as standard. You've got normal matte plastic down here, and then it's gloss on the GT and GT Line S for a little bit of a sportier look. Quickly taking a look at the front of this GT Line S, you can see you've got more impressive LED headlights with the pixel technology, what they call the star map lighting, which does look good. Also, all the front bumpers are in gloss black, all the trim, which does look a lot sportier on the car and is preferred in my opinion. On the GT Line, you just have the normal LEDs like the Air model, just the same. There's 4 different trims technically to choose from. You've got your Air, which this one is, GT Line, GT Line S, and then GT Line S with the heat pump. Then you've also got the fastback with a GT Line and a GT Line S. So there's plenty of options available. It's quite a wide range of cars. Wheels on the EV4 range from 17 to 19 inches. These are the standard 17-inch alloys on the Air model with kind of a Z-shaped design. They're very flat, which helps the aerodynamics, and they are wrapped in Nexon tyres. They are a Korean brand, so that makes sense. However, this one is actually made in Slovakia, the hatchback, and the fastback is actually made in Korea. Let's take a look at the 19s though on GT Line and GT Line S, which do look a little bit more dynamic and quite nice, not as aero, and of course they do cut into the range a little bit because you've got more rolling resistance from the wheels, it's a bit heavier, etc. When it comes to the side of the EV4, you can clearly see that hatchback look. Can't so much tell from the front because this is the fastback here, which is technically a saloon. It's got the same sort of front end. It's to the back where they've gone more hatch-like. Yes, it is slightly higher up than a petrol hatch, but not so much when you're sitting inside it compared to something like the EV3 or the EV9. It is truly more of a hatch car, but it is quite a big car, isn't it? But it looks quite good at the side, especially the rear is my favourite design. We've got these downward turn lights. It's very much like the new Kia K4 as well, which is kind of the petrol alternative to this car, coming very soon. I love the look of that. They look similar, but the EV4 just has that slightly higher and is bigger car overall. You've got Kia badge there. This is all matte in the Air and then gloss in GT. You do have a rear wiper as well. It's just hidden up there. I'll show you that now. So that's just like the Sportage in that way as well. So that's very smart and a nice feature to have on the car. Of course, as well, back here you can see it says 7-year warranty, which is great to see on the car, and you get an 8-year warranty on the battery. So great peace of mind with the vehicle as well. And how about colours offered on the EV4? Well, on this Air model, there's 4 to choose from. As standard, it comes in the Fusion White, which does look nice and clean. Optional paintworks are £650, including this new Magma Red, which look great on the Sportage, but on the EV4, I'm not so sure. I do like funky colours, but maybe it's just because this is the standard model, it's not quite the right fit. You can also opt for the Blue Flame, and last but not least, on the Air model, the Phantom Black for a sleek look. If you go to GT Line though, you do get another colour choice, which I'll show you now. It's exclusive to the GT Line and GT Line S, which is also seen on the EV6 as this Wolf Grey. I think it looks really good, really nice and sharp, and is definitely what I'd pick on the sportier model of the EV4. So I wanted to show you the blue flame on the GT Line S model because I think it looks really good. It's quite seed-like. Obviously this colour arrived on the seed, so I think it really suits the car. On the online configurator, something that I noticed on GT Line, if you do spec an optional colour, it goes just above 40k. It goes to £40,045. However, I've spoke to the product specialist and they say on the road price will technically be under 40k, so you won't have to pay premium road tax if you go for a GT Line just with an optional colour. And then in the case of the Fastback model, you have this exclusive Moonlight Mint colour, which is kind of in between pistachio green and the wolf grey, so it's quite nice. Angles more to grey than green, I'd say. You do also get shale grey on the Fastback, which you don't get on the hatch. And this is a controversial rear end of the Fastback. Technically it's not a Fastback, it's a saloon because it's got a saloon boot opening. So it's not a Fastback, which I wish it was like the Stinger, like where the whole section opens. It would just be cooler like what you get in the Polestar 2. This is more like what you get on the Tesla Model 3. And the rear design, I'd say, it's very much Cadillac. She got a booty like a Cadillac. I kind of like it. So let's take the EV4 for a drive now. Obviously, like I say, I'm in the Air model, which is the standard model, but I've got the 81.4 kilowatt hour model, so the long range. There is also a standard range with the 58 kilowatt hour battery available, and that gives you a range of 273 miles. So you've got 204 PS, 201 brake horsepower to the front axle. If you are looking for an all-wheel drive model, that will be coming next year, which will be quite cool, the EV4 GT. So that's quite an exciting car to look forward to. But for now, they're just the same motor as the EV3. That means 0 to 62 on the standard range in 7.4 seconds and on this long range in 7.7 seconds. Obviously just because of the extra weight of the battery pack. The Air rides on 17s, whereas the GT and GT Line S ride on 19s, so they're going to have more of a sportier, firmer suspension. I really like this. It's got the iPedal, the one pedal driving that you can change with the paddles on the steering wheel really easily. So that's nice and that's standard. What's iPedal? Well, iPedal means that it's going to fully come to a stop. So if you hold down the left pedal, iPedal comes on. You can have iPedal in all levels though. So you could have a very minor regen. Generally, if I put iPedal on, I'm having it on level 3 regen, which is especially good for around town and stuff like that. It's the highest regen. So as soon as I come off, the car slows down really quite rapidly. I hold down the right pedal and it comes on auto, then it's reading the car in front and it'll just increase regen if it needs to, or if there's nothing there, it'll just let it kind of coast along for a bit more. Lane assist and the speed limit warning do come on every time you start the car. To turn it off, that's the lane assist, which can be quite strict. Just hold down this lane assist button, like so, and the speed, just hold down this mute button, and it comes up there, and also the little grey X saying that it's now turned off, so that's good. So on paper, 0 to 62 in 7.7 seconds doesn't sound that impressive. There's a lot of other EVs that do have faster 0 to 62 times, have more power, etc. But I think this is plenty enough for everyday driving. It's front wheel drive as well. As with lots of EVs, when they have a lot of torque to the front wheels, you do get a lot of skidding and a bit of torque steer, and it's not the best in the wet. So it's kind of good in a way that Kia have kept the power quite reined in and not gone crazy, with it just being the front wheel drive car. This Air model has got standard Nexon Enfera tyres on. I've got the same on my Golf, and they're a little bit lacking in grip, and they can be a bit louder as well, I find, than the more premium tyres. Going up to the higher specs, you do get better tyres though on the car standard, which is good. Show you what I mean. We'll go from 20 to 30. Plenty of torque, you got 283 Newton meters. There we go. It was kind of struggling a little bit to put the traction down then, and the traction control was cutting in. If you smoothly accelerate though, it's very nice to you and it just gives enough grip. But I understand, to keep the costs low, one of the first things manufacturers will do will be to just use a cheaper tyre. I know the standard EV3 model comes with Kumho tyres on, so it makes sense. That shouldn't be as much as a problem on the GT Line and GT Line S cars. They've got bigger wheels and also better tyres on as well. What I do really like about this car though is the driving position. You can actually sit truly low to the ground, which is nice. Something that you can't do in a lot of the group's vehicles. I recently tested out the Genesis GV60, which is like the premium version of the EV6 if you like, and you can't get a low seating position in that car. As much as you try, it goes low to a certain point and no further. You can't sit anywhere near as low as this. This has obviously got manual adjustment on the air. This is the lowest. I don't normally sit that low. I sit where I was, about there. So that's really good. It's a nice ride height. You're about 4 centimeters lower in this car than the EV3. It doesn't claim to be an SUV. They're calling this just a normal hatchback, essentially. It's a little bit higher than what your normal petrol hatch would be. So they've got the Kia K4 coming out lower down again, but this is a nice ride height. So if you are used to something lower down, you don't necessarily want an SUV, you will really like this. I'd say it's similar in ride height to the Exceed. It does corner quite nicely, the car as well. Even on the 17s, it's not too floaty. It's not going to be as sporty of a ride as the GT Line and GT Line S models. Well, let's see how it corners around here. Lower centre of gravity does help compared to the EV3 with cornering. Yeah, it does kind of roll a little bit. It's actually okay. It picks up speed so well that I wouldn't need any more power than this. This is perfectly good. Sometimes some EVs have got so much power that you just floor them everywhere and then you get really bad range. So this is a nice balance where you've got enough power. If you need to really put your foot down, get out of trouble, you can do that. But mostly you can drive it quite sedately and it's fine. It doesn't encourage you to put your foot to the floor all the time, so that's good. It's nice and quiet and refined and efficient is what it aims to be. Unfortunately, you don't get a heat pump unless you go for GT Line S and go for the heat pump options, just as you do on the EV3. We're quite lucky that it's still quite warm at the moment, 15 degrees in November, so a heat pump wouldn't actually do a whole lot in these sorts of temperatures, but in the lowest temperatures, it is a really good thing to have. Regen's very clever. You can have any level you want. You can have it fully coasting with nothing, or you can have it all the way down to one pedal driving. Unfortunately, when you do increase the regen, the accelerator pedal does become a little bit heavier. Can be a bit annoying. If you hold down the right pedal as well, it becomes the auto regen. That kind of takes all the thinking out of it. And I actually quite like that, especially if you're used to an internal combustion engine car that doesn't really have regen. It is good because it'll kind of coast along when there's space. When there's something closer, it'll give you more regen. So it's actually really a good one to leave it in. And it also means that the accelerator remains nice and lightweight, which is good. Surely the auto regen should see red lights, but it doesn't seem to. I do quite like using the regen myself as well. So you hold this down for iPedal level 3. I'll show you how good the regen is as well to a stop, because it is really handy. So this is level 3 regen. This is one pedal. Then when it comes to a stop, it just says stop on the screen there. So there's a car in front slowing down. I'm not braking at all. I'm not braking at all. And then it just says stop. How magic is that? It's a similar width to the EV3, so that means it's pretty manoeuvrable and fine around town. You get a good view out of the car. It's nice and practical for families as well. The EV3 got a slightly bigger boot actually, and interior space feels quite similar. That car does sit higher up, so this provides a bit more of an engaging drive than that car. Gives you that commanding driving position in the EV3, and it has that funky styling. I think it is a really good car. A sucker for a hatchback though. I've got 3 Golfs, so I do love the hatch, and this is what this car reminds me of. A few people have said it as well. It's like the next generation of Volkswagen e-Golf almost. That was quite a cool car, one of the first generation EVs, and it was good. It only did about 140 miles, so just shows how far EVs have come in just a few years. Comfortable, reliable, efficient, does everything you want it to do. So it's very like a Golf in a lot of ways. Okay, we're going onto the motorway now. It can roll a little bit in the corners, especially at the higher speeds. Under high regen, it does also put the brake lights on, so people know behind what's going on, which is good. You'd also have the adaptive cruise control as standard, the highway drive assist. So basically that means it's doing everything for you. It's keeping you in the lane, it's keeping the distance from the cars in front, and it's also basically steering the car for you. It's actively keeping you between the 2 lines rather than bouncing you between the 2. So it's not like the lane assist which comes on each time that just helps you if you go over a line. It's actively scanning the road and keeping you banging between the 2, which is quite clever. So the highway drive assist basically takes any strain out of long journeys, and all you're doing is holding the wheel and looking ahead so that you're there if you need to intervene. Don't tend to use the adaptive cruise control a lot on my car. I quite like being in control, but when you are just on long motorway stretches like this, it can be quite a useful thing to have. Because it's eyes on the road driving, it doesn't allow you to do anything else. Not legal to be reading your book or whatever with this on. You have to still have your eyes on the road at all times and hands on the wheel. But it is quite clever, and it's nice that it's a standard feature on the car, especially if you are doing long journeys all the time. But it will make you switch off, I think, a little bit more. I'm going to turn that off now because I prefer to drive myself. It's smooth at these higher speeds as well. You don't get much wind noise at all, either from the mirrors. They're nicely designed. Like on the Sportage, I remember the same, like you'll be going quite fast and you don't really hear much road noise, wind noise at all. Yeah, motorway cruising, it likes that. It's pretty chill. It's good. I think this is a nice car to drive for a long time. These cloth seats are nice and comfortable. It's got a proper headrest as well, like you expect from lots of Kias, so you can actually rest your head as you're driving, which is really nice. It does also come up on the nav what lane you need to be in, but it is quite far away. I wish it come up on this side. Obviously on the GT Line S, you'll get the blind spot cameras in the cluster as well. That'll show you when you indicate, which is quite cool. This Air model doesn't have that feature, but you still do have blind spot monitors on the mirrors. They are on the very outer bit, but it is still a nice feature to have. This is rougher road now, and it's not uncomfortable. There we go, on those 17s, it went over that ramp beautifully. The steering's nice and direct as well. It's not as light as the Volkswagen Group cars, that is lighter steering. And of course you do have a slightly different feel, this being front wheel drive versus a rear wheel drive car. With the rear wheel drive cars, of course, you've got kind of your steering axle and your power axle, whereas on this front wheel drive, it's a 2-in-1, your power and your steering. I can find that the front wheel drive cars can sometimes be better when it is slippery, but not always. So the rear wheel drives can be a bit more tail happy and dicey on corners in the wet. The front wheel drive, the grip off the line is often not as good, surprisingly. A lot depends on the tyres, and it also affects the braking as well. So the brakes, if you're just gently braking on this car, are really good. When you slam on, the tyres can skip along the road a little bit. I had the Nero hybrid with the Nexon tyres on as well, and that did the same. I don't have a problem with the steering, it's nice. It's just a nice chill car to drive pretty much. Got it on the full regen now, and the accelerator's not too heavy, so that's good. It does pick up speed really nicely. Let's see what the acceleration from like 55 to 70 is like. Very good. Please bonk! That's just the speed camera thing. It's got your back here with speed cameras. They definitely don't want you getting any tickets, so that's nice. It's nice that you get the 12.3-inch digital dials and the central touchscreen as standard as well. Unfortunately, the touchscreen is facing slightly away from the driver, as it is on the EV3. A little bit annoying. You do have different drive modes as well. Total of 5. You've got Eco, Normal, Sport, My Drive and Snow. Sport does sharpen up the throttle response straight away. I've left it in Eco mode pretty much the whole time. And how far will the EV4 take you on a singular charge? Well, this 58 kilowatt hour standard Air model will take you up to 273 miles. If you go for the Air with the 81 kilowatt hour battery like I tested today, you'll get an official range of 388 miles. GT Line and GT Line S models reduce the range to 362 miles thanks to bigger wheels and more tech on board. And thanks to the more aerodynamic shape of the Fastback, this will get you up to 380 miles of range, and it's only available as GT Line or GT Line S. So that's quite good if you want the range but you also want the gadgets and gizmos. You might want to consider the Fastback. However, it's a bit more than the Hatch and it's not to everyone's taste. And how about charging the EV4? Well, the charge point's at the front, at the side of the car, which isn't the best placement. I prefer to the rear, but it does mean you can access the boot. You'll be pleased to know, as standard, it has 11 kilowatt AC charging. So that means on a long range model like this, it'll take around 7.5 hours to fully charge, and on the standard range, around 5.5 hours if you've got 11 kilowatts. If you've got a 7 kilowatt wall box, this car will take around 12 hours to charge, and then the standard range will take a little bit less, around 10 hours. So that's not too too bad. Fast charging is capable of DC rapid charging up to 127 kilowatts, which doesn't sound that impressive, but 10 to 80% can be done on both models in 31 minutes, which isn't too bad. It's not class leading on a 400 volt architecture instead of 800 volt like the EV6, for example. So that means it's a bit slower to fast charge. That wouldn't bother me because I'd always charge it at home because it saves so much more money and it's definitely worth doing. But if you are someone that's on the motorways a lot and you don't want to wait for long, then maybe you'd consider a different car, but you might only need a little top up of 20% or so, and then it's negligible the difference it makes in the charging time. Can also precondition the battery in the infotainment screen as well, which is great to see. You can do it with a touch of a button, which is great because a lot of cars you have to either put it through the nav or they don't let you do it at all. So it's nice that Kia are letting you precondition the car yourself. To get the best optimum battery temperature, you want to precondition it about 45 minutes before you plan to charge. Also, it is capable of vehicle to load as standard. You just need to buy an adapter, so that's great. If you have any power cuts, you can still make your cup of tea. The Air is more for a comfortable, efficient drive, really, for people who want to get the most miles out of their car and maybe don't want all the bells and whistles on it. How does it deal with speed bumps? Oh, very nice on these 17s. So yeah, we're gathered. It's a nice car to drive. So quite amazingly, my time with the car did 67 miles at average 4.8 miles per kilowatt hour. Times that by 81, that works out to 388 miles. Exactly what the WLTP claimed combined figure is. So that's excellent. About 20 miles of that was on the motorway and the rest was town and country roads, national speed limit, mixture of everything from 20 miles an hour to 70. Obviously, it all depends how you drive, and this is the standard Air model, so the most efficient. How good is that on the long range battery? 388 miles. It's literally getting the claim figure. That is excellent to see. And now this is the GT Line S top spec model in the Fastback. I'm going to take this for a spin and see what it's like. As I said, the tyres aren't the best on the Air model. These have got better tyres on and they've got the 19-inch alloys. So we're going to see how the ride differs, see what the efficiency is like, see how it handles, etc. You do have a chunkier steering wheel, which does feel a bit more premium, but not be as ergonomic as what you get on the Air, I'd say. Okay, suspension's actually not too bad. I thought it was going to be a lot firmer over these bumps on 19s, but it's actually okay. Yeah, not bad at all. So big bumps, fine. It can just feel a bit firmer than the Air model. A bit nicer, these seats and things like that. The headrest is so lovely. I mean, I thought the one in the Air was comfy, but this is next level. It's the same as on the EV3 as well, but I forgot how nice it really is. Road noise doesn't seem to be majorly much louder than the Air either. Heads-up display is nice as well. The top regen level 3 does seem to make the accelerator feel heavier on this Fastback for some reason than it did on the Air. Not sure why. Not too much different to drive really to the hatch. The power's the same, of course. It's got the same front wheel drive, 201 brake horsepower motor, but this is just a bit more of a slippery shape. But it's quite a bit heavier, the GT Line S, because you've added a sunroof, a premium sound system, electric seats. So obviously that all adds up to make the car less efficient, and the bigger wheels is the main thing. Let's see how the roll is in the corners though. This is obviously on 19s. Does it roll less? It feels a little bit more sharp around the corners actually, I'll say that. Yeah, bit happier around the corners on these bigger wheels. Bit of a firmer ride, but honestly not too bad. You've got better tyres, that always helps too. The Fastbacks have all got the 81 kilowatt hour battery as well. They don't do the smaller battery on the Fastback. It's quite cool as well. On the Fastback you can see the brake lights, you can see when the brake light comes on for your regen. 4.4 miles per kilowatt hour I got. Now for the interior of the EV4, how is it? Well, it feels quite familiar to recent Kias like the EV3, it's quite similar to that. You've got these 12.3-inch digital displays as standard and the 5-inch climate display in the middle. This is the standard setup and it's across the range, which is great to see. You've got this 5.5-inch climate display as well. If you press that plus button, it comes up on the main screen, so that's really good. And it is there. It does get blocked a little bit by the steering wheel, but it's still definitely a useful feature to have on the car. I also love on the Kias the driver only climate, so if it's just you in the car, it's me 80% of the time in my own car, I can just put that on and then that's more efficient again. You've also got these shortcut buttons here which are haptic feedback, which is nice. You've got a volume here. You've also got climate controls here as well. You can change where the air is. You can change the temperature and the fans as well. So you've got physical climate controls and the digital climate controls. So that's perfect. Great to see. Quite a lot of standard equipment on the car, including your highway driving assist, a rear view camera, front and rear parking sensors. Even on this standard Air model, you've got heated seats and the heated steering wheel with 2 levels of heating. They're on the doors there like they are in the EV3, and your heated steering wheel as well. Nice that they've included that as a standard feature on the car. Something that I wish a lot more manufacturers would do, especially in an EV, because it's more efficient than putting the heaters on all the time. The heating elements in the seats don't use a lot of energy actually. If you go up to the GT Line S, you do also get the ventilated seats, so they're the cooling seats. Just to quickly compare it for you, this is the interior of a GT Line S in the case of the Fastback model, and it feels a little bit more premium. Got these Olympic trampoline headrests, which are nice on GT and GT Line S. GT Line S gives you the synthetic leather with obviously ventilation and heating. The different steering wheel that you get in the EV3, it looks a lot better. I prefer this cabin a lot more, safe to say that. It just looks a lot more up to date than the Air, more modern and feels more upmarket. I like this in the doors as well, a little stripy kind of thing, instead of that kind of marble effect in the Air model and the like Tiffany blue bits. This feels much more classy. And on the GT Line S you get Harman Kardon sound system as well, so that's also good. Heads up display is another addition that you get on GT Line S, so that's nice. And of course your little sunroof. This steering wheel is also different on the GT. You get the 3-spoke, and on the Air you get this 2-spoke steering wheel, which is also used in the new Sportage. You've got this grey and black two-tone look. Unfortunately, there's no adjustable lumbar support on this Air model, which is a bit of a shame, so you can't change that, but they are quite comfortable, quite supportive seats. Driving this for a few hours today and it's absolutely fine. Grey and then black dash as well, and then you've got all these hints of this sort of Tiffany blue colour throughout the cabin, which not a massive fan of, especially with this magma red colour outside and then the Tiffany blue inside. It's a bit of a strange combination, I'll say that. You've also got this fake marble trim as well on the door cards, which again, I'm not a massive fan of that. It does all feel pretty good quality though, as you expect now from Kias. Armrest here with some storage. Not adjustable, but it's fine. You've got some shortcuts here as well. Manual adjustment on the seats on this Air model. And just to quickly compare, this is the interior of the GT line, not the S. So you don't get the sunroof, you don't get the heads-up display, you don't get ventilated seats either. But pretty much everything else is the same. You still get the electric driver's seat, which is really nice, and the electric passenger seat. However, the passenger seat doesn't have as much adjustment. They don't have that zero gravity seat that goes back and things like that. But I think this is going to be the most popular trim because it looks really good on the outside and the inside as well. I just prefer this cabin a lot more than the Air model. The GT Line, GT Line S also pop out the door handles for you. Whereas as you can see on the Air one, they always just stay flush. So you have to kind of push your thumb in and get it out. So this is definitely easier where it hands you the door handle like the Genesis. Unfortunately, this central touchscreen is facing away from the driver, which is a bit disappointing on the vehicle. But wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto as standard, you've also got streaming on here like YouTube, etc. So that's really great to see. When I pop it in reverse, the rear camera does come up, which is good, and it does have front and rear sensors as standard as well. This is your gear selector if you like. It's a twisty one on a column, prefer proper shifter, but at least it's a twisty one like a Volkswagen ID rather than one that you push up and down like a stalk like you do on the Renaults and Mercedes, which are a little bit more confusing. Then you've got your auto light controls and then your wiper controls as normal. It's very ergonomic, it's very user friendly. Just that screen being facing away means the very corner of the screen is that bit further. If it was tilted towards the driver, it would be about here and it would be much easier. So on Air and GT line models, it's just a manual tailgate, but it's not too heavy, so that's not bad. You've got 435 litres of boot space in the back of the EV4, which is a little bit less than the EV3 with 460 litres. Obviously, that's a taller car, so it gives you more space in that sense. It's 5 litres smaller than what you get in a Renault Megane E-Tech as well. However, it's much bigger than the boots on the Volkswagen Group's alternative to this car, with the ID3 and the Cupra Born both having a 385 litre boot. It's much bigger, and you can see it's very practical. It's bigger than your average family hatchback. Underneath here, you've got loads of storage space as well, which is great to see, and your tyre inflation kit and a charger bag as well. So plenty of space in the boot. If you fold the back seats down, it is pretty flat. There's a bit of a slope, but it's not too bad. And that square-shaped boot means it is pretty practical, so that's good to see. You do have to move the seat belts. However, there is a little indent here to pop the seatbelt in when you fold the seats down. It's not quite as smart as Kia's own Nero though, that has the guides that just mean they always stay at the sides, but it's not a big deal and I hardly ever fold the seats down. And what about the rear passengers in the EV4? How is it? Well, this air trim is nice because you've got the cloth, so it's nice and comfortable, and it does feel like you are sitting on the couch at home. It's very nice. It's a very living area sort of feel back here because you've got loads of space. It's bright and airy as well thanks to the light headlining, so I really like it. Feels good. You've also got a central armrest as standard. That's very squidgy and comfy with 2 cup holders, which is great to see. Headrests, not as comfortable as in the front, unfortunately. They're actually quite hard. Got a bit of extra storage down here and the vents to feed through the climate, which is great even on this standard model. How's the middle seat? Well, the floor's completely flat. Let's see. Oh, that's really good actually. Probably because it's in the cloth, the back isn't too firm. It's one of the better ones I've been in recently, and the base isn't too bad either. Normally for a shorter journey for the middle seat, but it should be okay for 3 adults, and it's wide enough. You've got electric windows at the back as well. They go almost all the way down. You sit higher up than you do in the front of the car back here. Headroom is not maybe as much as what you'd expect. I'm about 5'8", leg room's loads, so you could just put your legs like that and kind of slouch down if you were very tall. You do have more space in the EV3. On paper, the boot of the Fastback or Saloon, it's electric, there we go, is actually 490 litres, so it's bigger on paper than what you get in the hatch, but of course you've only got a certain height of boot, you know, so you compromise there. If you've got dogs and you want to put them in the boot, you can't put them in this boot. But it is deep, and in terms of actual litres, you get more space than you get in the hatch. It's actually 30 centimetres longer, the Fastback, than the hatchback, so longer than the EV6. Another thing to note about the Fastback, miss out on a rear wiper, so you don't have that at the back. Of course, you do have the heated screen, and it is slanted, so rain should run off, but if you get bird poo on it or whatever, you will have to clean it off. Okay, and what about the back seats in the Fastback model? Well, legroom pretty much the same as the hatch. Headroom a little bit smaller again. These seats are comfortable. Central armrest again, very much the same in the back of here with the 2 USB-Cs, etc. But you do have the heated rear seats on this GT Line S, which is really nice. How's the middle seat? Yeah, it's a bit firmer in the leatherette than it is in the cloth, but it's still actually quite squishy, so that's nice. A bit easier to wipe clean for families, definitely, in the leatherette instead of the cloth material. Not a massive difference in terms of practicality then in the back of the Fastback or the hatchback. Hatch is just all round, makes a bit more sense. So that's the Kia EV4. What did I think? Well, it's very good. The main thing that impressed me was the efficiency of the vehicle and also the drive. I do really like the EV3. I enjoyed my time with that earlier in the year, but I prefer to be a little bit lower down to the car, a bit more of a conventional drive, and the fact that you're able to do that in the EV4 is really nice and just gives it a more engaging driving feel. It's almost like having a bargain EV6 maybe. Of course, you don't have the charging performance of that car or the outright performance on paper as the EV6, but if that's not what you need, the EV4 ticks the boxes for you. You might not like the design of the EV3, so you might like this more. The EV3 is obviously like a shrunken down EV9. The EV4 is more hatch-like and more conventional, so it might attract a lot of people into a new EV. Also, value for money, you can't argue with it. This car with the optional metallic paintwork is just over £38,000. For an EV that does almost 400 miles, that's really not bad. Especially when you look back to a few years ago, you were paying the same for a car that does around 200 miles. It shows how fast the technology really is developing. Would I choose this Air spec? I think, to be honest, I would go for a GT model. It's more stylish and will be a lot more attractive on the used market. But if you want outright range, then the Air long range is the one to go for. Thank you for watching this video. Thanks again to Kia UK, and I hope to see you in the next one.